What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Med Plus Care. Being part of that team, we have reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Broadcasting live on July 26th, coming to the end of July, and it's been a hot, hazy, and humid July around these Toronto parts. We're not complaining. We're not complaining. We haven't had rain. Well, we had a little bit of rain. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Was it yesterday? I don't remember. Not complaining, because in about 5 or 6 months' time, it's going to be like minus 20, minus 30, all that stuff. That's okay. Hope you had a good week wherever you're watching, whether live on the replay. We appreciate that. But you're not here for me. You're not here for me. You're just here to see me, but you're not here for me. You know who you're here for? Aisha K. Staggers and Laura LaLa Key, the driving force behind Primetime Saturday with Aisha and LaLa. What is going on, ladies?
Ooh, we're trying to keep my peace. Been a rough week, man. Rough.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was going to ask both you two when we go live, give me one win you've had over the past week.
I registered for classes for the fall, so that was good. I got to meet with my advisor, and we sat and talked for a good long hour. She said there's a possibility there's some classes I can teach this, over the next year. And they have a phenomenal studio there where they have a podcasting studio for TV and things like that. So I will be using that as much as possible.
Oh,
That's
wow.
fabulous.
Yeah.
That's a little perk. We like that.
Mm-hmm.
We like that. LaLa Key, give us a win.
I had a closing in Denver, Colorado. So that was a beautiful thing. I got to help a brand new couple get into a home, and that just made me feel good.
How long of a process was that from the first time they spoke with you?
Actually, believe it or not, less than a month for them.
Wow.
Now,
which is extremely rare right now, but the market is changing. It's changing to a buyer's market. So there's more inventory than buyers. So they had an opportunity to, really look at houses and stuff. And then in the first week, they were in an escrow. Less
than a month.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had something that quick?
Yes. Now they weren't cash, but we were able to close them within 21 days because they had already been completely pre-approved. We call that directly underwritten. But the fastest closing that I've had is a week because it was cash.
Okay, so educate most of us. We're not part of the real estate world. How much of a difference, when you mention cash, does it mean they had the cash to do the transaction all up front?
Yes. So they didn't have to go through the appraisal situation. They didn't have to go through the inspection, although they still did. And it was just a quick deal because they knew that they wanted to live in that area the whole time. That's the only area they wanted to live in. And so they had all that together. And basically we just waited till a house came up and they went ahead and moved on in with it.
Oh, wow.
And how did they get in contact with you?
I'm being
curious here.
YouTube. And it was an old YouTube, like one of my very first YouTubes. And they called me about a HUD that they were interested in. And then they said, I don't think we're going to go for a HUD. And then they stuck with me.
I'm going to ask your permission. What's a HUD?
HUD is a house that is owned by the government. It's the Housing Urban Development. When people have an FHA loan, which is a government-backed loan, then if they foreclose on it, it goes back to the government and the government sells it. So it's basically any home that had an FHA or a VA loan on it.
Yeah.
Good.
And that's how we had that housing market crash in 2008 because the loans people were getting, they had those big balloon payments, and with the federal government, had to take all that back.
Okay, all right. Well, you see, people, you get more than just Polly tricks on this platform. These ladies have many talents and are knowledge bases in and drop knowledge bombs on many different areas. And before we go any further, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. LaLa, tomorrow you and Will celebrate how many years?
33 of married life.
And how long have you known each other?
Well, we've known each other since we were 14 years old, and we're both 55 now. Although he's probably going to kill me for telling people that he's 55 too. It's mostly the women who always say, like, I don't tell my age. Me, I don't care. He's like, but I'm older. I'm older by a month, so
okay.
I'll take that.
One other question: do you remember the first time you first met?
Yes, we were at the Youth Performing Arts School, and I met him in the hallway.
Wow.
He's always been a jolly, happy, just go lucky person, and we had a friend in common, and we ended up meeting that way in the hallway, and then just picked up friendship.
And where did you go on your first date?
Our first date was actually just to a park, because I don't need to go to dinner or anything like that. We would listen to Prince music all the time. So by then we had been friends for so long, just one day was, hey, let's go down to the park and listen to some music. And that's what we did.
My curiosity is just on like 150 right now. Have either of you seen Prince live?
Yes, many times. And I actually saw Prince for the very first time with Will.
That's what I'm going to ask.
My mother would not allow me to see him when he came through Louisville, Kentucky. It was the Controversy Tour.
Yes.
And mom had heard what was going to happen on the news, and I wasn't allowed to go. Even though I had a ticket, I wasn't allowed to go. So no, my first time seeing Prince was actually with Will.
And I remember in 1984, after during the Purple Rain tour, driving past, Alan Light talks about this in his book, being a student at Yale and standing outside Cutler's record store waiting to get tickets to Purple Rain concert in New York City. I remember driving past that line.
Wow.
From dance class, seeing all the Yale kids waiting for the line. So obviously I couldn't go because I was 9. But I did go see Prince in 2004 in the musicology tour for Mother's Day. It was my daughter's father. That was the nicest present he ever got me.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. That's nice.
So we lost some interesting figures over the last week. And there's one we're going to talk about later on. We're not going to say who that is, but if you follow the show or you look at the post, you'll know who we're going to talk about. But first of all, I'll go Chuck Mangione.
Oh, who's that?
Oh,
that guy. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh wow.
I broke my heart. But he made it to his, what was he, 81? Just a beautiful soul. I mean, just beautiful music, and he will be missed. Sampled many, many, many times, of course, but he still was playing. He was still out playing and touring, and
love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, I remember seeing him a number of times in Toronto. They don't have it anymore. There's a place called Ontario Place, and it's right by the lake. And one of the features it had was something called the Cinesphere, and it was a round theater, and it had an IMAX. It was probably one of the first places where it had an IMAX screen, big IMAX screen. But another area of Ontario Place, they had a concert place that it sat about. That's a good question. I'm guessing maybe about 3,000 people, and also you could sit on the fence. But the seating facility was covered by a tent, and it had a circular stage.
Wow.
And
how fun is that?
I remember seeing Chuck Mangione there. So amazing. And so many artists played that place. One of the greatest concerts I saw there was Regina Bell. That
Yeah, you talk about that one a lot. That one must have really left an impression on you.
Well, she left an impression on me so too. So, but no, that was a great concert. That was, but that facility, and I think in Toronto right now, the Great Toronto, there's no, like, people who are older, anyone who has been to that facility say, man, it was just great to have concerts there. Hey, Jen Myers. Jen Myers says, hello, everybody. And she says, love Chuck Mangione. Yeah. If you can check out the Flugelhorn, and his trademark song was Feel So Good, that album. Another great album he did was called The Children of Sanchez. Oh, what an, with orchestra. Oh, I that's a shower song. I don't sing in public. I only sing by myself in the car and in the shower because I want to preserve life. So I don't go any further. But yeah, Chuck Mangione we lost, and also Ozzy Osbourne.
I love me some Ozzy. I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, right? We grew up with everything. We grew up with all type of music. We all tend to love it. We all sing it in the halls. Yes, there were metalheads. Yes, there were Prince fans. Yes, there were, Duran Duran, all those places.
Oh, her name was Rio.
Them together.
I love Duran Duran.
And we all loved them together. So we all knew Ozzy. And Ozzy to me was so cool. And he's so honest. And I absolutely love him and Sharon. And my heart really breaks for her right now because she's been with him forever. I can't imagine losing my partner, my soulmate, for being and managing and children and all that stuff. But she knew he was in pain. And so she was the one who really helped him get this concert going. And I had a feeling when they said that this was his farewell tour, that this was his truly farewell tour.
Yeah, when they said that last week, that was the last show, I was like, yeah, there's something else going on here.
Well, you know
he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah,
he was in a lot of pain. But here's a fact that I learned about that concert this week that just made my heart broke my heart. He was in so much pain. That's why he was in the chair most of the time. Mm-hmm. And there were some parts where he wanted to stand, and he told him, let me stand. So he would let him stand. But y'all, he stopped all pain medication because he wanted to be able to sing clear and have a clear head because he was on so much medication that he was just foggy and sleepy and in pain a lot. And that man didn't take any pain meds and still performed.
Yeah, because that wasn't in the last, was it 3 months, he reunited with Black Sabbath and they did a concert in his hometown, which is, so I wonder if he knew that.
Oh, he knew.
The time.
I think they know, because that story you told me about him wanting to stand up and sing without the pain medication actually reminds me of a story that Valerie Simpson told a friend of mine about Tammy Terrell when she had cancer, and they sang the last song, You're All I Need to Get By, and how she just didn't have the strength, and they had to really, but she wanted to stand and sing, and they all had to hold her up.
So we lost two legendary,
just great legendary people, and we're losing a lot of them.
And definitely Ozzy lived a life by his rules. There's no doubt about that. No doubt. So Jen says, Dr. Vibe, that place sounds like Music Carnival. Great venue we used to have here. Yeah, I miss the small, intimate, especially outdoor performing places. Though I miss them so much. Ontario.
I saw Tina Marie at an outdoor thing like that, and it was really.
Did you?
Yes, and it was the day that Aaliyah died, and so she dedicated her show to her, and it was a really nice concert. I mean, she played as much as she could on the guitar, and then it was in a park in downtown Hartford, which is the capital. And when I say that she was hitting those notes, it felt like they were echoing from the buildings and everything.
Oh, wow.
It was beautiful. It was out in the park. It was a free concert. It was lovely.
Well, definitely to Chuck Mangione and Ozzy Osbourne, rest in power. You'll be missed and your legacy will continue. So on that note, we're going to take a 30-second break, and we'll be back, do a little bit of house cleaning and just 2 conversation topics, but they're going to be deep and they're going to be hard. So we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Good morning, Dr. Vibe, the vibe of the city.
What is up, everybody? If you felt you were innocent, why are you offering her $10 million?
There are certain influencers that create a bigger impact than others. And the ones that create the biggest impact are the ones that are not charging you any money.
You're not considering now somebody has to pick up what you did not do.
This has been an incredible conversation. There you go. The Morning Vibe, Monday and Friday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Pacific with myself and Ryan O'Neill Knight. Hope new promo. Hope people like it. We always got flashing new things going by. Jen says also, my parents met Loretta Lynn at an outdoor
Oh my God, she was
venue.
a sweetheart.
What?
Loretta was a sweetheart. I met her once.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
She went to the Kentucky State Fair and performed at the Kentucky State Fair when I was a kid. And she came down and spoke to everyone. She came down and spoke to everyone, signed autographs. She had no diva in her.
Yeah.
She just was good folk.
Man, aren't there some good things
Yeah.
about
I
the
like people who are like that.
Yeah. Like, before we get into the housework stuff, I remember I used to watch a lot of sports and used to be a big fan of U.S. college basketball. And one of the most renowned coaches, period, in U.S. is a gentleman named Mike Krzyzewski. And he was a coach of the Duke Blue Devils for many years. He coached a number of championships for Duke in men's college basketball. And he also at least coached one Olympic team. And it was interesting. And he was so highly renowned that the late Kobe Bryant said that one of the few things I wish I would have had in my career is Mike Krzyzewski coaching my LA Lakers. He wished he could have had that. But he came up here with a number of U.S. coaches doing a clinic. And after he finished, he signed everyone's basketball. I mean, everybody. There was like 300, 400 people there. He signed it. I don't know if that would happen in today's society. Right?
Oh, no.
And he also said one other thing. I've never heard anyone else say this before. Someone asked him, Coach K, when do you know you've done a good coaching job? And he said, when my players are coaching each other, I know I've done a good job. Never forget that. Never forget that. I've never heard anyone put leadership in that context in my life. All right. Let's get down to some housework. Girlfriends chat, Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones. There's a Patreon address. There's a Substack address. By the way, how was Girlfriends chat this week?
It was good.
It was
It was
short.
good.
It was good.
It was
short.
short, but it was good.
All right.
Yeah, we had
The
good conversation.
Primetime Saturday show store is there. You can go check out products at the store. We've got the Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. And then we've got subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show at subscribe and notifications so you keep up to date on what's going on here. And like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. And again, we're broadcasting live on Substack. Fantastic. To advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm on, email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. And cannot forget Dr. Taché and Indie Soup Media with about 25 independent content creators. I am one of them. And there's another lady on the screen that's soon to be another one of them. Actually, Staggers. And that has about coming in on 28,000 subscribers, which is very rare on the YouTube space. Because only 10% of all YouTube channels have 28,000 or not over 10,000 subscribers, let alone that. All right, family. Only 2 topics today, but we're going in deep. So if for the faint of heart, I would say don't come on because this is going to be deep. Our first conversation topic, Project 2025 Redux. Who wants?
Okay. Well, they've got 46 in the
We're
beginning.
about 50% done with Project
Yeah.
2025 in 6 months.
Yep. Yep.
I also want to make a point as well. Within 6 months, we also have people who are developing and putting together white communities only.
Yes.
This
I
also
saw
falls
that.
right
I
underneath.
saw that. I saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And you know what, though? Here's my thing. Go ahead. Do it. But if we do the same, do not bring your tiki torches, your unwashed selves to our spaces and burn them down like you did Black Wall Street. If our spaces are thriving more than your white-only spaces, do like you want us to do. Stay out. That's how I
No,
feel.
what they want to do is they want us to build because they know they're absolutely excellent. So therefore, what they want to do is come and destroy or take it over. This is why so many of our original communities are underwater and have been burned down.
But you know what, though? Let them move. Because guess what? Here's the part that they don't think. Go to wherever this community is and form a whole bunch of little ones around them. Because guess what that does? That's a population shift. And when there's a population shift, what happens? Congress changes. You shift Congress. You shift control of the Congress, which means that if all those, MAGA neophytes are up in Montana building little white-only communities, cool. If they're leaving Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina to do that, cool. Because guess what it means? The people that you're going to leave behind, the people that are going to be left behind, they have more seats total than Montana does. And those seats will turn blue. So I'm okay with it. Go ahead with your bad self.
I want to ask both of you, let's go back. How long ago were you two ladies chatting about Project 2025?
Over a year ago.
Yep. We started talking about it in July of 2024. We did a whole show, October of 2024, right before the election. And if you recall, anybody who's still here, the people that showed up to that show were like, "Oh, you guys are fatal." They were so upset. They were mad about my eyeshadow.
Yep.
That's how upset Brother Man was. He was so upset about it. I wonder, has Ice shown up to his house yet?
We ain't heard from them lately.
Yeah, don't worry, they're coming because there was a guy who has a real ID, U.S. citizen. ICE. He tried to tell ICE that he was a citizen, and they checked his ID and all that stuff. But then, guess what? They took his real ID. They didn't give it back, but they let him go. They're not supposed to confiscate your ID because guess what? ID belongs to the state. The federal government can't confiscate that.
But rules are all out the window.
Yep.
Because they have control and people are bowing down. This is why it's really important for us to talk today about what has happened in these last 6 months. Because just as we always say, it's happening so fast, you can't even catch your breath. And shadows and smoke screens are being thrown about what's going on with these Epstein files and all this stuff that we're talking about today is still moving forward.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to see that. They want to just talk about the hot topic for the moment. No, but the hot topic is they've already stripped all of your rights away,
right.
And they still continue to do it. By the end of the year, I see this being done completely.
Well, here's the thing about it, too. There are two different things that are going on that people don't seem to understand. There was that big bill, and then there's the reconciliation bill. The reconciliation bill, it's just what it is, literally what reconciliation means. They are trying to reconcile what they want with the money that was already spent. This is their way of trying to get it back. So the things that they've taken, so just so you know, they've imposed stricter work requirements on SNAP. These people were out here saying that that wasn't going to take effect until 2026. Right, when the bill goes into effect. But it's starting now because the reconciliation bill, the money that they've already spent, the money that they've already earmarked for SNAP last year for this year, they want to take it back. And so by restricting the work requirement, by making the work requirement more strict, they're going to kick off a lot of people who are disabled, who can't work, elderly people, children. They're going to kick them off of that
And make them go
before-
back to work.
and make them go back to work. But guess what? Here, and when I say children, here's the key word here is children, remember, because the other thing that they did is rolled back the age for work. So children who need SNAP are going to have to probably go to work. How do you work enough hours when you're in school? 12-year-olds don't need to work. But Sarah Sanders in Arkansas says it's okay.
All right. Let me just go to some comments. We just catch up here. So Jen says, "Oh my goodness, we have a flash flood warning. Where you are, please stay safe."
No, we just got a thunderstorm warning too, right here.
Okay. Producer Matt says, "Oh geez, I was hoping there was more being done to hold it back, but 50% in less than a year is brutal." We're talking 6 months, not even 6 months. I want to ask both of you, when you first, because both of you read the document completely, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was your first reaction? What were your initial feelings when you started reading the document? Because you had heard a number of press reports, but now you were reading it. What was
I
going
physically
on?
got ill. I physically got ill. To me, it sounded like a Stephen King horror story.
Yeah.
The Handmaid's Tale. Even though I haven't even watched that, I knew enough about it where I was like, oh my God, they're going to take this totally to a dictator, authoritarian, women are only here to serve and have babies type of community. And no one would have any rights, only those who they deemed desirable, which is those who have money.
Yeah. In reading it, I felt I could see Jim Crow laws. I could see the black codes, the slave codes, all being folded into one and given a 2025 spin to it. So all the programs that they cut, they really think the majority of people that they're harming are black and brown. Black and brown people are really just the collateral damage here, because white people are going to be severely impacted. For example, they're restricting, and this was part of the reconciliation bill. They're restricting the low income heating and energy program. A lot of elderly and senior citizens lean on that program. They rolled it back so much that they fired all the staff in that office who deals with that. And they only rehired one person. So this one person has a job to cover the entire country. And I'm sorry, summer doesn't last forever. Some of these states, and some states hit winter a lot earlier than others. Like Minnesota, they're going to be needing that by the end of September.
What does the people behind Project 2025, what do they reason for this document? Why do they think that it's a malleable document?
Well, because they think that this country has gone too far to the left. And at the bottom, they don't say specifically what it is, but the bottom line is this is the white supremacist handbook. Project 2025 was, let's make America truly a white place again, and a place for wealthy whites specifically. It is bad enough that we live in a country where every person in the mainstream media is sitting here saying, oh, we've got to do more to reach out to these poor white guys who nobody wants to talk to. Nobody's talking to, nobody understands them. And I'm sorry, they voted for what they wanted. When we talk about blue collar workers, we're not talking about black, you're talking about white men. When you talk about middle class, you're not talking about the black middle class, you're talking about the white middle class. All we do is center these people. And now it's a bunch, when you look at it, there are very few white women that contributed to Project 2025, let's be clear. The majority of them are a bunch of men who put together this document because they are so mad that growing up, nobody liked them.
Oh,
that is it.
Listen, we know that they started this with underneath Reagan, but what really kicked it into high gear was President Obama. How dare a black man enter the White House?
And you know why they got even more frustrated? Why they were really ramping it up? Because when they saw Joe Biden move aside for Kamala Harris, they're like, oh, no, we can't have this again. We cannot have this again. But here's the thing. They can do all this stuff. It's going to hurt and it's going to be hard. But the thing that they can't stop is the population shift. Because guess what? Those men are so mad that white women don't want to reproduce with them. That's what all this is about. They're nothing but a bunch of incels who are miserable their whole lives. People made fun of them. People picked on them. They couldn't get the girlfriends that they wanted. You know, Biff and Chad wouldn't be their friends, and Becky wouldn't be them in high school. And now they've got some little bit of power, and they're trying to make everybody miserable because they're very miserable people.
But here's another thing. Let's really get down to the honesty about it. These rules are for you, not them. First of all, Melania Trump don't need to be here. If she fell underneath the rules that they are putting out for everybody else, ICE will be knocking on her door. ICE, I think y'all need to go to 1600 West Pennsylvania, okay? Because
they need to go to New York because she don't live with him. She don't live with that man.
Exactly. However, we know that she doesn't belong here, and that also includes Barron, and that also goes for his other children. Majority of his other children, I think, except for Tiffany. They all were given, they're all from other women who came here from a different country. Then let's not forget that just recently, nobody's talking about this because can't nobody catch their breath. The Congresswoman, I believe, for Florida, she's got somebody, she's up there, had an ectopic pregnancy. She went for an abortion because it was the ectopic, which is life-threatening. Okay, remember,
a baby. It will never.
You can't do that. They allowed her to do it. All she did was pick up the phone and call the governor and whatever and say, "Listen, I need this done. Just tell the doctor that he won't be in trouble." And that's exactly what they did. You don't get that luxury. They do. You are not a they, no matter how hard you think that you are.
Because here's the thing. Once they finish with Project 2025, they're going to have something to come out for 26 through 28. And that is going to be the rules that will apply to them only.
Exactly.
Because once they roll back all of our rights, it'll be the rules that apply to them only, because it creates a greater stratification of class. And the thing that we're going to see is those rules are going to go back to the Jim Crow laws. You're going to be like, guess what, Black, you can't come in here. You can't come in this place. You can't do this. And how do we know that? Because guess what? They did it once already. They did it once already. They tried it once already. The people, guess what? Granted, under segregation, some of our communities thrive more than others. But bottom line, these people are still mad that the Brown decision came down, because that was the start of it. Why do you think they start at school boards before they go up to Congress? Why do you think Moms for Liberty is targeting schools? They start in the very place where their foremothers and forefathers of the 60s, they're basically their parents and grandparents, started at the school level. And then they move up. But here's the thing. It's not just, and I think we have to be clear, it's not just the rights that we think, low income things. It's not just about Medicaid. It's also about immigration. They have a thing here where they said that they've okayed just putting up tents in places of land to house the migrants. Nobody to work those places, no one to run it, just tents where they're going to be, because it's the cheapest way to do it. But and
also, let's put this in there, because we already know that Alligator Auschwitz is up and running. Okay. But now Texas is doing the exact same thing. Yep. And they're doing it on a military base.
Yep.
Government land. Yeah.
And Ron DeSantis got another $250 million that Florida is putting into making another version of Alligator Alcatraz. I'm going to tell you something. But these people, they're doing these hard things to the rest of us. But think about this. For themselves, they reduced the estate and gift tax. Who's that going to apply to except for wealthy white people?
All right, a few things before we go more and deeper into this. And I see that before we go any further, I'm going to read what Project 2025 is. Actually, I'll gonna do a banner also. So I'll do this, and just seems that this is enough. Okay. Let's see. Let me just give me a second here. Is this going to do it for me? Add banner. Okay. So Project 2025 refers to a comprehensive policy blueprint developed by the U.S. Conservative Heritage Foundation and allied groups intended to guide a potential, well, it's now to guide the Republican administration starting in 2025. So it was a potential, but it is in impact now. So let's see. We've got to go back to this,
You
and
know, they've got
let's look.
some very specific things though that I think we need.
I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna break that
Yeah.
down. Gonna break that down, but I just want to get to some of the comments here. In the house, Dr. Tachi, we mentioned her name at the beginning of the conversation. Dr. Tachi says, hello, all. Enlightened beings, good to have you back. Dr. Tachi says hello to enlightened beings, says, hey there. Also, enlightened beings says they will have it done by the end of this year. Dr. Tacho says they are also very mediocre people. At the Crocs, this is what it's all about. They know they are mediocre, so they need to squash everyone down to seem taller than they are. Enlightened Being says it's more than a blueprint. It's all about hate and control.
Yeah. And that control piece is very important because there are a significant amount of things in here that are marked completed that have to do just with women. So for example,
oh boy, they were so obsessed with that.
Yeah. One thing that they did was that they lifted the protections of HIPAA requirements and HIPAA protections for women's reproductive care. So that basically means that anytime you see your gynecologist, that isn't necessarily private.
Oh, okay. Also, if I have permission to interrupt, if you're watching live on the YouTube channel, if you have any comments, put them up. We're showing them in live time. But I can go through some detailed things, like for example, and some of these things have happened. Ladies can comment on these.
Can we talk about this women's piece though? Because I think it's really important. Just for the simple fact, because Lala went there with the woman with the ectopic pregnancy getting that. Not only did they roll back those protections, they also rescinded the guidance this past in June. They rescinded the guidance that requires hospitals to perform abortion when a woman's life is threatened. So they're trying to make this a federal thing that if your life is in danger when you're pregnant, they can't terminate the pregnancy. You will just die. And then the other thing that they did was they eliminated, which is a big thing because it goes hand in hand with all these bills. They took back, they rescinded birth control under funds to promote birth control for women and young girls, and put that money into fertility awareness-based programs, meaning that they're going to start requiring menstrual cycle education classes, as if women don't know how to keep track of their own periods, right? But they're going to have that. It's to try to prevent pregnancy without using birth control. So they are going to federally endorse and pay for programming that teaches people about the rhythm method, which if you know anything about the rhythm method, that is why Gen X is here. Okay. Basically, that's why Gen X is here. The rhythm. That's why the baby boomer generation is so big. The rhythm method. And if you remember in the 80s, teen pregnancy rate in this country was very, very high. One of the reasons that it started to go down was because they started doing sex education, and high schools would have these little shops where the nurse would have condoms and things like that. And this is when we talk about a dystopia, we're talking about going back 50 years.
50?
50.
Oh, baby.
Well, we're going back further than that, but 50 years ago was Roe. It was the teaching of sex ed in schools. All these things that have to do with women's health care and women's livelihoods. I mean, they got like 20 things in here on women's healthcare, mostly reproductive care alone. That is sickening.
And something just came out this week that I can't remember what state it was, where a lady went in to get her birth control, and something popped up on the screen telling her that they now, whether it was CVS or Walgreens or something like that, where they now will be reporting anybody's cycles that they come in for birth control and stuff and putting them in a database. So they are now going to be watching your cycle and if you're on birth control or not. So if you come in for any kind of reproductive things, like the birth control pills and all that stuff, they're going to be tracking it now.
Now, here's the thing. If you're a woman who's in menopause and on HRT, guess what? If you take Provera is the hormone, one of the hormones that's in birth control pills. They actually would mark it as a form of birth control. So if you go in and you're like, you get that, but you don't have a period, they're going to come after you, even if you're in menopause.
What's the reasoning behind that?
Control.
They're trying to track how many abortions that are being had, who's having abortions. But I think it's even more than that. Notice that we are 5 years out from a census. That is why Project 2025 is being implemented as swift as it is, because they've got 5 years to shift the population, because they are worried about what that census is going to show. That census is going to show that we are closer to them being a minority than they thought.
And that's why they're also changing categories.
Right.
You know,
and that's also why they want
multicultural. In my case, I would not be able to choose biracial. I wouldn't I always choose Black women anyway, but for people, many of my friends who are biracial, they don't, I'm biracial. I am. I don't want to dishonor one of my parents by just picking one, but no, they want to get rid of those type of boxes, and they will not allow you to. So they're trying to keep it as basic as possible. Don't forget the one drop rule, baby. It's still in full effect.
Yeah, because you know what? The prevailing belief from the 1990 census was that by 2040, it would be a majority minority country. But the last census, the 2020 census, was an eye-opener, because they found out that the majority of people under 21 were people of color, that white babies were in the minority under 21. And that right there, that information right there, scared them to death. So that means that we weren't just on pace to becoming a majority minority country. We have exceeded we were closer to it than anticipated. And that's why this became so necessary for them. Because guess what? If this was something that if the population issue hadn't been such a hot button for them, they would have done a Project 2017. They didn't. They got those numbers, and that was something that was like, whoa, we got to step back here, because we're about to be in the minority. We're about to be in the minority, because they also believe that with them being in the minority comes with them losing power. But I'm telling you, we can be a majority minority country. It won't be for a while until we get that power, and how do we know this? Well, guess what? There was a time when the number of enslaved Black people in this country outnumbered white people, and they still had control.
All right.
And we have to not forget, not only are they controlling things such as birth control or reproductive rights, removing any kind of, this all falls under the Department of Health. They're also removing anything for transgender, but don't forget, Adriana Smith was an experiment, y'all. Mm-hmm. Who is Adriana Smith? It was the young lady that was classified as brain dead in February, and she was expecting a baby, and they would not allow the family to let her go home to glory.
Yep.
They made her stay on life support while that woman was dead, and still have that baby in her body. Then they had nerve enough to say that she birthed that baby. She didn't birth that baby. That baby was taken straight from her body. She had no control over her body. So that was an experiment to see how they could use women who are brain dead who are pregnant, which it does happen a lot, unfortunately. People don't typically talk about it, but it does happen more than you think that it does. On how they could use that to just be able to incubate children. And let's not forget that this week, if you didn't know, now you know. What is it? If you don't know, now you know, you know. They then came out with this embryo that didn't need any parents at all, y'all. And they used three parents. They broke it down and made a baby without the people in the petri dish. And that baby's probably growing, and they're just not telling us that.
And you know what's scary about that part with that young woman too is that I saw an interview with her mother, and her mother was like, you know, it's bad enough. We know she's not coming back. We have to sit here and watch just sit here and watch with that. We don't get that. She said, and then now we have a child, a brand new baby we have to take care of. She's like, I'm retired, and now I have a new child that I have to raise. That, you know, if they had just allowed her, she wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't be this way, and she'd be here to raise her son. That's the other thing. They took this woman because they would not treat her. Her son now does not have a mom.
And so what do you think that's going to do to the child?
Right.
Because that is very traumatic, and you don't really know what effects that this child is going to have by being in his mother's womb when she was gone.
Yeah. 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 It is the fact that they're trying to keep track of these things, and they're using our pharmacies and things to do it is like, well, are we going to start keeping track of all the men with erectile dysfunction?
Good.
What about the ones who go and get the medicine for ED? That, you know, why it's always the woman? It's always the woman's fault. Okay. Well, what about the rapists? Okay, I'm tired of putting in fake words for social media. What about those fathers who are raping their children? What about those ministers that are raping kids? What about all these people? And now you're going to force them to have these children? Listen, everybody has their own line, all right? Everybody has their own line. It is not for me to tell you what to do with your body. And I don't want someone else telling me the same.
But if we're going to go down that route, I need to know how many abortions Donald Trump has paid for.
Oh my God, probably off the charts.
I know. That's why I think we have a right to know. If he needs to know everything that's going on in my uterus, then I need to know everything that's going on in his life. How about that?
All right. Just if I have permission to interrupt, Enlightened Being says Project 2025 is about total control over people's lives. And also they say this is straight from The Handmaid's Tale. Mm-hmm. And also says this is sounding like a horror story.
But here is the one thing that is like the thing that the reason I think this Epstein thing needs to kind of continue through the rest of the year. I think that is the one thing that stalls this Project 2025. And when I say that, it's because the people who were supportive of these things are starting to wake up a little bit. And if he lied to us about this, he keeps lying to us.
Aisha, the man never says anything that's the truth.
What else is he lying about?
Why are you, Aisha? Why are you surprised about that statement?
Oh no, I'm not surprised about that. But I'm saying I'm thinking that, look, he lost the QAnon shaman this week. When the people that stormed the Capitol, some of them are kind of like, yo, what's he doing here? Because, you know, he told us this is going to happen. This is going to hurt them. It wasn't going to touch us. But wait a second. He said he'd release the Epstein things. And see, he's painted himself in a box there because either he has to release the whole docket or anything he does to prevent it looks like he's got something to hide. This thing with the thing yesterday, the meetings, giving her limited immunity, that looks like he's got something to hide. So people are going to start saying, well, if you're hiding that, what else were you hiding from us? What else were you?
Well, what makes me so angry is how the Yes, I said it. Sorry, Dr. Vibe. What
It's okay.
the fuck was you listening to? We knew all of this stuff a long time ago. These women came forward. Now these women are afraid because they know that they're coming after them. And so they are actually, a lot of these victims, the true victims, not Giselle, like they keep on coming out talking about, she's a victim. See how they're trying to set up the narrative? They've not talked to any of the victims over this, but they are now coming out saying, my name is such and such. I am not suicidal. Yep. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because they've already knocked off one of them.
Yep, I saw 3 of them this morning.
Coming off of them.
I saw 3 of them this morning talking about, this is my name and this is what happened to me. And this woman is a monster. And you know what? But here's the other part of it. You can't say it's fake when there's someone serving 20 years for the thing. And I'm sorry, but I got to ask, and I know we're going back to 2025, but he is the tool for it. And what I don't understand is why mainstream media did not ask him, wait, you said Bill Clinton was on the roll 28 times. How did you know 28? How did you know that specific number if you weren't briefed?
That's the first thing.
Okay, I'm gonna, if I have your permission to interrupt just quickly, we're not talking about Epstein so much, but it was, again, Michael Wolff talked about this today,
right?
That the media has been totally blind on this story because the Daily Beast and Mr. Wolff, a week before the election, released audio recordings of 47 and Epstein saying, you're my best friend, you're my best buddy. And all of a sudden, most of the media is just jumping on this now.
Yeah. Well, you know what I love?
And also notice how they're spinning the narrative now to Bill Clinton's on there. Listen,
we need
like
that
matters. Let me tell you something. I don't give a who's on it. Listen, it still needs to be released. And that's the difference between me and a lot of these cult members is the fact that I don't care if they're Democrat. I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're part of the British autocracy.
Thank you.
I don't care what they are. A predator is a predator is a predator.
Look,
put them out.
Look, Uncle Chester, the child molester, shows up no matter what party they're in. Okay,
that's right.
All right, let's get back to 2020, Project 2025. So I have a suggestion. I can suggest the area, put out the area that it pertains to. So, for example, civil service, the proposed change, and it's already happened, the politicization of federal jobs, the negative impact, loss of expertise, and independence. Now, I can go down a number of these, or do you want to comment on each thing, or do you want me to go through all of them?
Well,
I broke mine down according to department. So I'll just fall into line.
Yeah, because I'm going to go through all of them, and you guys can pick whatever ones you want to talk about. So environment, proposed change, fossil fuel expansion, climate rollback, positive potential negative effect, increased pollution, climate harm. Civil rights, abortion, LGBTQ plus DEI restrictions, potential negative impact, reduced rights, increased discrimination. Executive power, centralized presidential authority, potential negative impact, weaker checks and balances, risk of authoritarianism. Get my mouth checked. Social programs, cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, Social Security, potential negative impact, increased poverty and hardship. Science/expertise, proposed change, loyalty over expertise, potential negative impact, poor decision-making, sideline science, and then finally foreign policy. Proposed change, reduce international engagement, potential negative impact, weaker alliances, less global influence. So you
Notice
can
one thing that you didn't say was education.
Yeah,
and that's because they're getting rid of the Department of Education. I can speak to this because it's affecting me personally. Like I said, I'm going back to school this fall, and there is barely anyone working on the Department of Education part for our college students, because I put it this way. There was a correction I needed to make on my student aid report, right? And I made the correction twice. They have not changed it. I called and I'm told we are really short staffed. And I was told by the person, I don't think we're going to be ready for when students go back to the fall, and we don't know how this is going to happen and where the money is going to go because they have not moved. They have not moved who's taking care of the student loan part of this that the federal government takes care of yet, which means that there are a lot of people going back to school in the fall who don't know how they're going to fund it.
Okay.
Yeah, but then they don't dare not go because they've got to go. Now, Aisha talked about,
Right.
you know, the higher education, the colleges, but let's look at also what's going on with just basic education of our children. They are making the school, they're so focused on making two genders that they're actually getting rid of everything else. So they're also taking away money from the public schools to give it to private ones, which leave poorer kids with fewer resources, plus the protections that help stop bullying, sexual assault, and unfair treatment, especially for girls and LGBTQ plus students. They're also being removed. All those protections are being removed. This means that many kids will not get the help or safety that they need at school. And for many of the children who are living in poorer states or living on, have to have the SNAP benefits and the free lunches, they no longer will be able to get probably the only meal that they get at one ever. Because usually most of those kids are only eating at school. And right now that's being taken away because a lot of those launch into the summer months where children are not normally getting anything at all because they're not going to school. And those benefits have been stripped. So tell me again how they are the party of family.
Well, you know what, though? Let me tell you this. I worked as a communications director for a public charter school, and I helped set up all of their stuff as far as their lunch program and all those things, right? So the thing is, I also know how much the state was spending per pupil and how much they were getting from the federal government. You think that you're going to hurt the states where Chicago, Baltimore, New York City, LA are located, right? No, you're going to hurt the kids in bumfuck Mississippi because my state has a per pupil minimum that they will spend. They get extra, they add to it from the federal government, but the state pays a good portion of that. Mississippi, their per pupil minimum is something like $3,000. So to get to spending at least $15,000 or $12,000 per student per year, they get the rest of that from the federal government. Now we start at, like, I think it's either between 13,000 or 15,000 from our state, and get from the federal government, bring it to 20. So I don't see how these poor states who voted for this man are okay with this. And also, you forget, Trump's like, well, we're turning education to the schools. Educational funding always goes back to the states because honestly, your city is what collects the money from that. You get city taxes and state taxes go to pay your schools. It's not anything that the federal government really does, but they do all the protections. They protect students with disabilities. They protect girls. They protect LGBTQ. I'm wondering if they're going to start rolling back the Title IX protections for girls in sports and things like that.
Yes.
That is something.
Yes. I think they've already rolled that back. I think
already girls' sports get far less funding than boys' sports. And girls get the same injuries.
Okay.
They don't want us doing any of that. They just want us being barefoot and pregnant. Now, y'all laugh at that, but that's not funny because it's really true. They want us home barefoot pregnant. Y'all remember all those 50s, 60s videos where, they teaching women how to do the jelly cooking and all that stuff. And these things like Nara Smith that's out right now who, having babies, even though she's working, they don't want to work, but she's still having babies and she's still a homemaker and whatever. That's what they want from us.
Well, they don't want wives. They want mothers. That's basically what it is that these men want mothers. And not only that, they want the mothers that Leave It to Beaver had, and that the kids on the Donna Reed show had. And if you're millennial or Gen Z, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but your parents might.
Well, go YouTube. I'm gonna enlighten beings goes. It is so much.
Wally died, by the way, so I think we should be over that. Beaver's brother Wally died in real life. The guy, he died like a month or two ago.
All right.
Yes.
Aren't we over it?
Yeah, it says it's so much in so little time. And I also want to just share, like I did with the other areas, I'll break it down in education. So area, Department of Education, proposed change, shrink or abolish the federal role, potential negative impact, less oversight, more inequality.
Right.
DEI initiatives, proposed change, end federal support, potential negative impact, less support for marginalized students. School choice, proposed change, expand vouchers, parental control, potential negative impact, weaken public schools, curriculum censorship. Higher education, proposed change, target woke, unquote, universities, cut funds, potential negative impact, threat to academic freedom, less affordability. And then student aid, proposed change, restructure or cut loan programs of potential negative impact, college less accessible, higher debt.
Yeah, they cut the student aid programs already. That was in that bill, and they said it was supposed to, that's not starting in 2026, it's starting now. And honestly, I think the higher ed piece is going to be the bigger piece, because local districts and states decide on the curriculum. So there's nothing that he can do from DC to come into Connecticut and do our curriculum, because guess what? Education is not written into our Constitution. It's actually written into state constitutions. So states get that oversight, and he can't control that. That's why they're citing all these things that they're going to do with it that they necessarily can't do because they're state things. But this piece with higher ed, moving the student loan program to SBA is insane, because first of all, SBA is such a small office. They don't have the capacity to deal with the magnitude of the student loans. But second of all, that tells me that they are going to allow independent businesses, banks, and other financial organizations or financiers like Elon Musk be able to offer student loans at not a fixed rate, but escalating rates and fluctuating rates, and also be stringent about the credit check. Because with student loans, right, with the exception of the Graduate Plus loan, all the other ones, they don't run a credit check for students. You have to be enrolled at least part-time and have satisfactory academic progress to continue to be eligible.
By the way, credit is only a United States of America thing.
Right. Right.
Dr. Chachi says SBA is already overwhelmed. They don't have the capacity to handle student loans.
Student loans is a multi-billion-dollar a year endeavor.
Business.
Right. SBA, they have they have a budget of 25 million. They don't have the capacity to handle this. And
most of the departments can't handle anything right now because of what they've done. They've completely stripped them, all departments, everywhere that they could. This is exactly what Musk did. So all of these departments don't know the new procedures. They don't have the people to help. So that's all across the board. That's just not with the Department of Education.
Yeah, I mean they fired all the people who knew what to do. So
and
now
then had to hire some of them back because they didn't know how to go forward.
But here's the thing: you can't fire people and then we have to let you back, and then be like they did and act like they haven't found other jobs.
Want to shout out on Lala's Facebook channel. Bart M. Van Houten says hello.
Hello, Bart.
Yes. So as we start winding down on this portion, why do you think people didn't listen to what you had to say?
It sounded like it was actually a fairy tale.
Yeah.
People are sleeping at the wheel. It either found that, okay, there's two reasons. It either found like there's no way they're going to be able to do this in such a quick time. There's no way. And the other one is, oh yeah, let's do it. Okay, those are the two. There's no in between.
Yeah, and some people thought, oh, this is too dark for it to happen here. And I think that as Americans, we got to get out of that mindset. This is exactly what the fuck we are. We are being who we are. This country has been putting its foot on the neck of people marginalized people. The only reason that you're saying this is not who we are is because now white people are going to be swept up into this mess. But this is who we are. This is the country that will hang you for looking a white woman in the eye. This is the country.
And create a whole event around it called Picnic.
Yeah. And then there will be, this is the same country that will strip indigenous children from their families in their homes and put them in schools where they lose them. And then what? 50, 60 years later, find a empty grave with a whole bunch of bones of those kids that they took that they didn't have to. This is the same country that is disappearing brown people away from the street, right off the streets by masked men they don't know, and then can't figure out why these people resisted. Any person is going to resist someone in a mask trying. How do we tell our children? How do we teach our children safety anymore? You know, because if somebody comes to you in a mask, you run and know that they're going to be safe. The boogeyman is real.
And I want y'all to also, this is just a little side tip. If they do come at you, this is not funny. This is actually real. There is some mace spray. People need to start buying this mace spray that is actually colored. So it stains the skin of the person who you spray it at. So if you have any opportunity to spray them anywhere, whether it's the face or their arm or whatever, they will be marked and they will be known of who they are.
How, well, you touched on this at the end of last week's show. Anyone, how do people, okay, for the people who didn't think this could happen, what do you have to say to them?
Go to Project 2025 Tracker, and you can see they list it's a great site. It will tell you how far along they are on some of these initiatives. It lists all the ones that they completed. It tells you the date that it was completed on and what it does and who initiated it and whether it was part of that big bill or part of the reconciliation bill. Because basically, on top of passing this bill, they passed in the dark of night, and then the media didn't talk about it, this reconciliation bill. And this reconciliation bill is about taking away monies that were already earmarked and spent and promised to be given. Like, for example, I know that here they've done they're starting to do all the highway work because they don't want that money from that bill that Biden signed to go to waste.
All right. We're going to move forward. And as we transition, I was reading something online that I think in the last month or two, 1 million people in Texas have lost Medicaid.
Yeah. But you know, Texas is also the one who rejected any kind of government money for any disaster. So guess what? I'm not sorry for you. Talk to your governor.
Nope.
All right. The only other conversation topic we're going to get in today is remembering Malcolm Jamal Warner. Ladies?
Well, you go first. I'm so emotional about this.
This was very hard for me because one of the first things I think of is the fact that this is someone we grew up with. Malcolm was actually my age. He was getting ready to be 55 next month. He almost made it to the age of 55. Everything that he did on the show related to a lot of us who were going through the same thing. He also made it seem very real that there were prominent families out there. There was more than just, you know, basic domestic workers. You had an attorney mom, you had a doctor dad, you still had problems at school, you still had learning disabilities. You felt like that family was your family. So it's a lot deeper than just losing an actor. We have actually lost a brother. And not only that, he was such a good man from the inside out. Kudos to his mother, because that was her only child. And she also was his manager. So she raised a good man, and he also had a good father. He talked about his father all the time. So when we lose someone who is a positive influence and has such deep rooted memories within our heart, we mourn like they were just our cousin from around the corner. And he will be missed, and he was very loved. So I hope that you are dancing in heaven, and I hope that God was standing right there saying, come on, you have gotten your reward, because he lived the life that I always tell you to live by being the light. He walked in the light of his purpose every single day and walked that purpose with proudness. And so he will be missed. And he's performed with many of our good friends in LA, and never thought that he was better than anyone else. Always was excited about working with people, gotten into the poetry and the music, continued his artistry, and just was a good all-around human being.
Yeah. Well, I told Lala on Girlfriend's Chat on Wednesday that the character of Theo, when they addressed him having dyslexia, really hit me, because it reminded me of this boy Kyle that I went to school with. And Kyle was that mischievous kid that his desk always had to be near the teacher's desk. And I don't think the teachers ever realized that he was having some other issues, or that there was something else there. They just thought he was being bad, right? And remember, they thought Theo was just being lazy and not focusing and not putting enough importance on his education. But it wasn't that. It was the dyslexia. And then once he got treated, you saw him soar and then go on to college. And Theo wanted to become a teacher. And it was a really, you got to see that character evolve the same way you see Black men evolving, from youth to young manhood. And it was so nice and so refreshing to see that. But you're right, Lala. It was like we lost a brother, because he was the only boy in that house full of women. And I can relate to that. My brother didn't grow up in the house with us, but he was the only boy with, 3 sisters. And so I really, really I loved his role as Theo on The Cosby Show. And I followed his musical career afterwards, Malcolm and Eddie, when he was on that. And just watching some of the videos, he's such a humble man, just such a humble, good, like Lana said, a good man. So he's going to be missed.
Okay. Do I have permission to add some to this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
So, yeah. So last night, actually, Dr. Tachi invited myself and some other people to share about this. Some of the stuff I'm going to share, I said last night, but it'll be brand new for most of you. And other stuff I didn't get a chance. So I want to, in one area, talk about perspectives for Black men when it comes to this gentleman. First of all, authenticity and vulnerability. He showed the power in embracing one's true self, even in the public eye. Also, he did legacy building. He was able to create a legacy that uplifts not only our current generation, but generations after. Also, the mentorship and brotherhood that he showed on the show, supporting and guiding each other through shared and unique experiences, navigating stereotypes. He had strategies for challenging and reshaping societal expectations. Also, self-care and artistic expression. He explored creative outlets for mental and emotional health. So, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this, if I have the ladies' permission.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as a Black guy who grew up watching The Cosby Show, Malcolm Jamal-Warner's role as Theo Huxtable was honestly a game changer for many of us Black men, and a lot of Black boys and Black men that I know. Theo, before Theo, it was rare to see a young Black male on TV who was allowed to just be himself. Smart, but not perfect. Funny, but not a stereotype. Loved and supported by his family, but also challenged by them. Theo was just a regular kid facing regular issues: school, peer pressure, learning differences, growing pains. But the difference was that he was allowed to be vulnerable. How much do we hear that word with Black men these days? Right? And on that show, he was allowed to be vulnerable. There was the powerful episode where Theo's parents found out that he had dyslexia. I got to get that right. Instead of making him the butt of a joke or regarding him as, quote, a problem child, the show highlighted the struggle with his dignity, and his family rallied around him. That was huge for us, seeing that you could be struggling, but still be loved and still be worthy. For Black boys and Black men, seeing Theo meant seeing ourselves. We could be goofy, ambitious, make mistakes, and still belong. And for America and many countries around the world, because The Cosby Show is worldwide, It challenged the one-dimensional images of Black boys as troublemakers or sidekicks. Theo was a son, a brother, a friend, a whole person. And for Black families, the Cosby Show through Theo showed that Black parents could be loving, firm, professional, and aspirational. It normalized Black excellence, but also everyday life. It let us see that our family stories were worth telling and worth celebrating. So Malcolm Jamal Warner through Theo gave us representation that was multi-dimensional. He gave us permission to be human. And then finally, I just want to add, in regards to his personal life, he was always mindful about maintaining his privacy, focusing on his craft rather than celebrity gossip. He's spoken about the importance of maintaining a good grounding identity while growing up in the public eye. While he has had high-profiling relations, and he was married, but he also had a relation with one time with Regina King, he kept his personal life largely out of the spotlight. He was married when he left us and was a father of one child. And he was also an advocate for mental health and self-expression, especially among Black men. He often spoke about the importance of therapy, creative outlets, and mentorship in Black communities. And he also believed in continuous learning. He discussed how he's never stopped growing professionally and personally and seek to use his platform to uplift, educate, and inspire. So I just want to close out in saying this, that Malcolm Jamal Warner's journey reminds us that Black men are allowed to be complex, creative, and caring. His legacy is just not in the roles he played, but in the doors he opened and the conversations he started about family, self-worth, and community. Ashe, Malcolm Jamal Warner.
That's beautiful. What was your favorite episode of the Cosby Show with Malcolm Jamal Warner?
Men getting pregnant.
that episode was funny. I forgot about that episode. What about you, Lala?
Oh, it's always the whole shirt episode.
Yeah.
Mine is actually there's two. There's the one where when they teach him about the real world, they take everything out of his room. Because my parents did try to do that to me once.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
And then the other one was remember when you got those notes to read? They didn't want to read Macbeth all the way through, but then at the end they just read the book and then they did the rap about it. I never forgot that. And so when I was in 10th grade and read Macbeth, I got through it because I remembered the rap that they did.
Okay. Dr. Tachi says we were all the Huxtables.
Yeah.
But Dr. Tachi's Gordon Gartrell.
So funny.
And producer Matt goes, I'm sorry, back up what? Men getting pregnant?
Yes, that episode is so funny because it's like, what was it? Didn't Bill Cosby eat a sandwich he wasn't supposed to and had a nightmare or something? And then it was all the men in the Cosby family pregnant except for the grandfather.
Yeah.
That was a great episode.
Yes. So
there were so many. And I will say that no matter how you feel about Bill Cosby, he did give a beautiful tribute to him this week. He did call into a radio show and expressed his grief over losing him because a lot of people, maybe a lot of this new generation doesn't know that Theo's character was based off of his son. So it was a very cherished character for him. But he said what he wanted people to remember is that the very last time that he spoke to Malcolm, he asked him, what are you doing? What's going on? And Malcolm was over the moon because he had just done this performance in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he was so proud of it. And Cosby said that you could just hear the excitement in his voice. And what he asked the radio DJ to do is to find that performance and play it in honor of him so that the world can actually feel the joy that Malcolm felt over that performance.
Isn't that amazing? That is so amazing. That is so good.
And you know what, though? The rest of every other network has taken the Cosby Show off. But they're still playing Woody Allen movies, and Malcolm Jamal said this himself. They're still playing Woody Allen movies, and they're still playing Seventh Heaven with Stephen Collins. But TV One, that Black owned, Kathy Hughes, they are a real one, right? They keep the Cosby Show in a different world playing. They also keep Good Times running too every Saturday. But yeah, Cosby Show and Different World back to back. They still play them. I still watch it, and I still love it like I did back then.
Wonderful. Well, you will be missed, but we're going to do our best to continue the legacy that you set. All right. All right, ladies, that is another epic conversation today. If you are watching on the YouTube channel live, we would love to get your takes. What did you think about today's conversation? Can you rate it from 1 to 5? 1 going, and 5, it's out of bounds. So we would like to know what you think. Lala, again, happy anniversary. What are you doing tomorrow on your anniversary?
We're just going to just chill this time. We just, we've done a lot of running lately. So sometimes he balances with me because he's the one who likes to run around a lot. And I am the homebody, believe it or not. So he has agreed to allow me to be the homebody tomorrow. And we're going to watch movies and eat popcorn and laugh at our memories and look forward to the future that we have together, because we got a lot of good things coming up and a lot of things that we are extremely blessed over.
All right. On that light, how can people get a hold of you when you're not on anniversary mode?
Well, you can find me on my website. I have everything there. You can find my social media there as well. It's www.laurakey.net, but I have a very special announcement. I actually have a real estate class that is going to be on August the 16th. And you can sign up for that. It is a 3-hour course that will walk you through everything that you need to know about buying a house so that you can be educated and know what to expect when you get into that process. And so I really will be excited to see you in that class. And we'll also have a very special lender guest there. I'm going to keep
I know who. I'm not saying nothing. I'm keeping my.
But we will have a lender in the house as well, so you can bring your questions to that. To sign up for that, it's also on my website. It's the very first button at the top. I hope to see you there.
Yeah, and I know who the special guest is, family. I would suggest you check it out, because I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. I know who that special guest is, and I'm very happy that it's going to be coming to fruition. So fantastic. Aisha K, take yourself off. There we go.
Oh, you can find me at AK Staggers on Instagram, Medium at AishaKStaggers.medium.com, Blue Sky, AKStaggers.bsky.social, friendomedia.com. I write just about every week for them, and Substack at Aisha K Staggers. And I am going to get all this in just a bit.ly link so you can find it soon.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much. And then myself. Where can you get a hold of me? There's a number of places. The DrVibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at The DrVibeshow, X/Twitter, DrVibeshow, email at dr period VIBE at the DrVibeshow.com. Also, you can catch me on Substack at drvibe.substack.com/subscribe. And Blue Sky, drvibe.bsky.social, and TikTok, the dr period VIBESHOW. I think I mean to go the LaLa route and put everything in one link. I think it's just so much. I think I'm gonna have to go to the one link thing eventually, but that is fantastic. All right. Want to say thank you everyone who caught this live or on replay. Want to shout out the top contributors, comments wise, Thunder Muff on YouTube, Dr. Tachi, and Enlightened Beings. Thank you so much for helping this be an enlightened conversation. See that? Enlightened conversation. Check that out. You can watch replays of this show on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Also on the Dr. Vibe Show website. As always, also thanks to producer Matt. Always want to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And then finally make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. While good, and happy anniversary, Will and Lala. Yay, yay, yay. Peace.
To understand how afraid I am of any member of the rodent family that's down to squirrels and chipmunks. Okay? I cannot stand all members of the rodent family. Rabbits, bunnies, no. What else is going on that day? I mean, is there something we're supposed to be doing?
Why are you going there? Why are you going there? You know I'm going to ask you. It falls the same day as the inauguration of the new president.
The what? Excuse me? I'm sorry.
You mean so in other words, Monday.
So onesies. Now, folks, don't ever think you're going to see us all on a show with onesies on. Don't do that.
You might see me. You might see me.
You'll see me and you'll see me and Lala, because we oftentimes wear ours.